Welcome to the Muslim Street. Assalamu alaikum. This is the month of Ramadan. Just want to not let that slide by. We'll talk a little bit about that after a second. Here on the Muslim Street today, war, war. So I want to kind of set this up. This is a public service announcement. This is what my post was yesterday. I said, don't forget, out there in the listening audience, to adjust your clocks accordingly tonight, or which was last night. For Muslims, adjust your clocks to 1990. This is when America declared war on the Muslim world. That has led to millions upon millions of deaths and the current genocide in Gaza and this invasion of Iran led by the Epstein regime. This is a new name for Israel. Just call it the Epstein. Just call it what it is, right? It's not the Epstein files. This is Jeffrey Epstein's war. We established that last week. So we're joined with Art Mobley of About 423, also founding member of the National Association of Black Journalists. We've been produced out of Accra, Ghana, by the mighty Lance Scurv. I just want to give a heads up and a shout out to Lance for the fantastic job that you put together, the foundation for the Muslim Street. And we'll be joined a little later by Dr. Viper Issa White, who was a candidate for Congress. I think District 10 or something like that in Orlando. Just stuff the ballots. I'm from Chicago. Just stuff. Get the dead people to vote. Get the people who ain't born yet. You know the baby coming. Get the baby that's coming registered and vote. Okay. White folks have been cheating in elections since the beginning. All right. We need to do something and talk about how they made that deal to end Reconstruction back in 1876 with that election. They've been cheating forever. All right, do you know that in 1996, Clinton was president? There was a book, and I had the book in my library, and just a message to people who have extensive libraries. Do not loan your books out. You will not get them back. You think you're sharing information with people because you've been enlightened and you want to enlighten them? They're going to take that book, and you try to get it back in a month or two. I don't know where it is. She took it. She got mad. I had some out of print books and some Negro that I gave some books to. Oh, she got mad at me and threw them in the garbage. What? Don't get your books out. Anyway, 1996, there was a book called Vote Scam. 1996, not 2000 and Bush v. Gore. This was 4 years before that. Not Trump versus Clinton in 2016 with the Russian hoax bullshit. No. 1996. Not Trump whining about what happened in 2020. The only problem that happened in 2020, he didn't steal it first. All right. 1996, Vote Scam was a book that talked about how all U.S. elections are stolen. And I ain't even talking about what happened in 1960 with the mafia and Sam Giancana taking Chicago when Kennedy was running. He was on the verge of taking West Virginia and won that nomination. That's not what we're talking about. We're literally talking about elections being stolen on other levels. Anyway, that book is out of print. Vote Scam, if you can find it in the listening audience, educate yourself and really get a foundation for this circus that you call democracy. Vote for me and I'll set you free. One man, one vote. Your vote counts. Negro, please. Anyway, Art, we're going to jump into this.
Dr. Vibe, check your sound. It's a little echoey.
Yeah, Brother Art, we're going to jump into the topic today, war everywhere, which is an extension of our show last week. I called America Darul Harp, which is the abode and the house of war. Art, you kind of threw this subject matter out there along with Dr. White. We see now the Epstein regime talking the Trump administration, and they're going into Iran, and they are taking. Here's where I think we should start with the lies of the U.S. media, which are owned by the Epsteins. They literally own CNN, CBS News with Barry Weiss, MSNBC doing the bidding of the Zionists, Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, a longtime Zionist. So the information that you are getting, and they about by the way, they're getting ready to buy up YouTube. Don't even worry about that. So you think you got some independent voices out there? All that's getting ready to change, right? They want it all, right? So the data and information that's coming back, oh, we lost 4 or 6 American soldiers, is bullshit. The reports are coming back from the international press between the Israelis and Americans taking heavy artillery. That number is approaching 1,000 body bags. And if you got any, and specifically the black people, but definitely the Muslims, if you got any relatives that are in, whether they sons, nieces, nephews, daughters in the United States military, tell them to try to find a way to get out, because they're getting ready to be sent on the ground over to Iran to fight another white man's war. Art Mobley.
Well, we of course find ourselves in a place where we left off with a few years ago. And I think it's a bit of a misnomer not to understand the real dimensions of this conflict, the structure at its base. America and Israel are one. They always have been. Israel essentially represents a forward base of NATO and the US in that area. And it's there specifically to make sure that the Suez Canal stays under the control of the West. And also, they've got a military outpost that has to be manned. It has to have people, family, supports. So you need a whole community there. So that's why we've got the state of Israel, and that's why it exists. And so we've got a continuation of war in that area. Unfortunately, Benjamin Netanyahu has been a major extra influence in everything that's happened in that area, and he has personally exerted his will on the people of the area, and he wanted war in Libya. He wanted war in Somalia. He wanted war in Sudan. He wanted war in Syria and Lebanon. And he got just about everything he wanted in terms of chronologically setting up a series of wars. And now it's come to Iraq and Iran. And it's a continuation. So we need to understand it through the real basic looking glass that it is. So that's a basic premise. We of course get to Iran. Iran is an amazing country. It's Persia. It's vast, and on February 28th. In the wee hours of the morning, the U.S. and Israeli forces launched a campaign to begin bombing in that country as unprovoked, and it was definitely something that was not there was no pretext to it. They provoked it. I don't care what they say. When you say that you had to start the war because you thought they were going to attack Israel, and they were afraid that Israel was going to attack Iran. So the U.S. had to attack Iran first because they knew that they would get hit before. You see where this is going? It's as crazy as it is. But this is the nonsensical way that they entered this conflict, and they attacked Iran. So
I got an interesting question for Dr. White before he jumps in on the broader question, and that is, Dr. White, what do you make of Black people in America? These are ordinary Black people, right? I'm not talking about the Black intelligentsia or the revolution. I'm talking ordinary Black people. What do you make of Black people in America whom are 9 out of 10 who are generally rooting heavily for Iran in this conflict?
Well, I think that's not nothing new. The issue here is that the reason why they're rooting for Iran is that it's because they see that the United States is not only a colonial power overseas, but use like policies within the Black communities, the working class communities in the United States. So therefore, when they see American military raining missiles on a people who are innocent, they also align that with the police coming into our neighborhoods, arresting, beating us up, killing us, in reference to many of us being innocent of the crimes that they accuse us of doing. So they see that correlation. Along with that, they see that the Iranians are dark people. They're Persians. They're brown people. Some of them are dark, and they see them as fighting for elements of self-determinism. That is, for working class people, that really means having the right to speak and having the right to defend themselves. And we, as Black Americans in the United States, working class people, again, don't have those rights. It looks like we have those rights, but we don't have those rights because when we speak out, again, we are being criticized, we're being isolated, we're being polarized, we're being killed. So I see those types of things as well. Then historically, I think it was in 1970, let's see, late 1979, 1980, early 1980, when they had the Iranian student crisis, when the students took over the embassy. And remember, the Ayatollah Khamenei, he released African Americans and women. He said, we don't have no fight, we don't have an issue because African Americans, especially, are victimized in their own countries, in their own country. So it's that is why um, African Americans are rooting for Iran. Not that they don't like the United States, not that they don't love their country. They don't like the policies of the country, of their country in reference to the global South. Now I want to go back to an element with brother Art, and that is this conflict. Yes, it stems with Netanyahu and President Bush. I mean President Trump. But the reality of it is that now the American people have begun to realize that their country that they love is an imperialist power, and it has gone against the framework of the founders of this country to be a non-imperialist power, to go against imperialism of Europe. But now we're the American people, the underclass, the blacks, the whites, so forth, see this. And that is why this war is so unpopular. However, they also seen that this issue is bigger than Netanyahu and Trump. There is a deep-seated element of the dark state that really controls not only this government but the policies globally that deals with economics, that deals with conflicts, that deals with the whole mechanism of the military complex. And there is that group there. We don't actually know who they are. We have some ideas of who they are, but they're there, and they direct the policies. When you look at President Trump during his first policy, first administration, when he said that he is not going to extend wars, that he is not going to be the world's policeman, that he is going to be a peace man, and that he did not need Jewish support or Israeli support. And he was even scolding Netanyahu on certain things. You see, that Trump is dead. There's another Trump now, completely different, that is more like a puppet of the fabric of this group that's controlling him, that's controlling the world power. And that's something sad.
Well,
And
I think we can rip the Band-Aid and the mask off of the deep state. They're not an invisible group that's got all this mysticism around them. They're very identifiable. They are the central bankers of
Okay.
Europe, and they are the people who are using Netanyahu and this Epstein class as their battering ram to beat the hell out of the rest of us, for the sake of their own financial superiority. People call them all kinds of, they refer to them under all kinds of names. They talk about, oh, it's the Catholic Church, it's the Vatican, it's the Illuminati, or it's this mysterious. No, these are people, these are real flesh and blood people who are manipulating the entire world, or trying to manipulate the entire world. And they started to slide. They started to backslide on that. What's that, Millie?
Yeah. Shout out to Steve Coakley, who died around 2015, 2016, a master researcher out of Chicago during as early as the 1980s, who began to expose who these groups were in name, right? And now we see all of that coming together. One thing that Dr. White mentioned, and I'd like to kind of explain a little more as we educate and raise the level of consciousness of the listening audience. You mentioned the founding fathers of the United States, these slaveholders. While we were in chains, being beaten and raping and whatever. I never mention these crackers. I gotta tell you, when I talk about America, I never say we. I do exactly what Malcolm said. I'm praying for the wind to come so that the master's house can burn down. I'm from that side of the tracks. Now, you mentioned the founding fathers not, and when you say that, I know that you obviously meant in the context of white supremacy and white power. They didn't have white power in 1776 when they signed that piece of shit document, and then began to execute it 1787. Within 50 years, under James Monroe and the Monroe Doctrine in 1823, they launched an imperial mission within 50 years. And all I say that they didn't do it initially because they didn't have the power to do it, right? They didn't have the military necessity to do it, as they were fighting domestic wars to set up what will come 50 years later under the Monroe Doctrine that began to, which was the initial part of the American imperialist mission as they moved through the Americas.
Well, I think you're right in reference to the Monroe Doctrine, 1823. And all of that, but within the scope, yes, they were racist, they were white supremacists, but within the scope of the founding of this country, one of the reasons that they created the Constitution that they have now is that they were against imperialism of Europe at that time. France, England, Spain, Portugal were the major powers of the European world, and they were going out beginning to colonize and so forth. And so remember, the United States was a colony, and so they fought against that. And the founding fathers said that they did not want imperialism to be part of this society. So when I look at that, I have to look at the fact that the country has gone away from that, because now we have to declare that the United States is a bona fide imperialist colonial power, and it's hungry for more. Just look at what's taking place. It's just not Iran. We have military troops in Ecuador. We have placed a military embargo by the Navy against around Cuba, and they're talking about invading Cuba within weeks, if not days. We have also within this scope, we have said to Spain, I just mentioned them, that Spain, if you do not allow us to use your Air Force, we would just go ahead and do it anyway. And there's nothing you can do about it. At the same time, we're talking about giving arms to the Kurds. The Kurds are a minority in that part of the world, and they're problematic. and they have issues in Turkey, they have issues in Iraq, they have issues in Iran, to aid them, to give them a military armament to wage war against Iran. We see that taking place. The United States is on the verge of going back into Nigeria. We have already taken over Haiti. We're Burkina Faso just captured some Americans there, support us, who's trying to take down that government. So therefore, when I say this, it's that the country has become bloodied, with blood on their lips, looking for war because the country has become an imperialist nation, not the people itself. However, the government that look at this, yes, Arthur, I agree with you. We know the symbolism of these people, the bankers and so forth. But I'm speaking about more names that we can tie onto this. And except for broad names like the Rothschilds and a few others, we do not really know them. We know we have eyes, we prospect, but this small group, they've been around for generations, all right, their families. And we have to be strong enough and be detailed enough and do the research to pull them down. Because
Well,
even if this Iran war ends today, it does not end this whole mechanism of the warmongering of the United States. That's what I'm concerned about. And that is something that is going to bring down this world.
well, we know
And we got to be specific. We got to have policy. We have to be aggressive. It cannot be any longer that we speak in generalities and pseudo revolutionary dialogue. We have to be much more direct, because that's where we are right now.
But don't you think we have been direct? I mentioned the extensive work of Steve Coakley. I want to listen, save yourself a lot of time, okay? Go Google, YouTube, Steve Coakley, that's Cokley, and he's going to drop it all in terms of receipts over the last 50 years worth of research. He's going to give you in 2-3 hour lectures. And Dr. White, you knew Steve Coakley.
I knew Steve, but the difference,
we knew him personally. We know the extensive
right.
evidence of his work exposing the Who's. He literally did that, right? I mean, the research is already there. They don't need to dig through books, through all this nuance. But you did mention something that I thought was critical. I like Art to kind of drum in on, and that is here's the United States of America. The purportedly the largest military in the history of the world. Go gets his proxy over in the so-called Middle East, who they've armed to the teeth, Israel, and within the first 3 or 4 days, they can't take Iran down. And what do these red, white, and blue holes do? They call up the Kurds, a lifeline.
That's
We need
right.
your help. Okay, so they're going to manipulate the Kurds and offer them this and not all this kind of stuff, which
Well, that's
shows an
because
extreme weakness on the part of the United States military and their hegemony over the world. They're falling apart.
the U.S. does not want to put ground troops into Iran. They know the dangers and perils of that. They found that out when Saddam Hussein attempted to, again, for money and with backing from the U.S., attacked Iran back in the 80s. And they fought for years. They killed millions of people on the Iranian Iraqi border to do that. But they want to send the Kurds in. They called up the Kurds because they don't want to be on the ground first. They've got to have some force there. So no, the U.S. does not want to go into Iran. That's
Dr. White, weakness on the United States military, not as strong as they once were.
The United States military goes by its old reputation. All right, the reputation that goes back to World War II, in which they argue that they won World War II for the world. We know that's a big lie. Russia did. All right, and her allies. But it's a reputation, and people believe, well, America is strong. Remember, since that time, after World War II, we really had a standoff in North Korea and South Korea, in which we was really fighting the Chinese. That wasn't a win. We had a loss in Vietnam. That wasn't a win. We had a serious loss in Afghanistan. That wasn't a win. And right now, the United States is not going to win now. So yes, the military might has gone down extensively. Um, we have we in the last 5 years we've lost something like United States has lost something like 300,000 men. They're not in there any longer. With the armament that they have utilized a lot of that armament in Ukraine and in Israel and throughout other parts, even Taiwan. So therefore, the military complex of being able to produce weapons quickly is not there, and they're too expensive. So the element of utilizing the couriers is trying to get them to go in very quickly and to do their work. If America goes in right now, they would be decimated. In fact, about it, I don't know if you read the reports that Iran has already claimed that they have captured 150 American troops that was there. Trump and others are trying to deny it. I don't, I don't believe Trump. I don't believe the fact that only four to six people have died in the conflict. I agree with you, Brother Malik, that there have been thousands who have been killed. And you talk about Iran hitting a 15 of 11 of 30 military installations
including
around the
Fifth Fleet.
Middle East.
Right.
You see, I mean, you telling me that only 4 or 6 people got killed? What do you mean they're empty? Come on, give me a break.
Every military installation in the region, the U.S. military installation, has been bombed or hit, and so that's probably highly unlikely. But we can only, offer conjecture at this point of where we are. But can I step back a bit to a point that we might have gotten lost when we talk about Black African Americans and their experiences in this country, paralleled with what these tactics expose going forward in the Middle East, or what they call the Middle East, which is Northeast Africa.
Yes.
They think that going into Iran, striking heavily, they hit so hard that they killed the Ayatollah Khomeini, who is the supreme leader of the Shiite community. It was certainly much more devastating than someone killing a pope in the West, and much more of an impactful event as well. But they call that a decapitation strike. They were trying to take out the leadership of Iran. And when we compare that to what we went through in this country, we had a decapitation strike during the 60s and 70s, where you go from Medgar Evers to Malcolm to Martin Luther King and on through. You can also extend that to Africa. We have experience with being decapitated in terms of our leadership and having our leadership targeted. But I would like to get you brothers just opinions and thoughts on that whole subject of the process of decapitation and how it relates to our experience in this country.
Well, first I want to say, going after Ali Khamenei, the United States, it really shows that the United States and Marco Rubio has no understanding of geopolitics, none whatsoever. First of all, it's very interesting how this man chose to die. When he was working in his office, and his aides told him, "Listen, they're going to attack us. Let us go. Let's go to another city." His response was, if I can take all 90 million of my people to another city, I'll go. Then they said, well, let us go to a banker. We have bankers that they can't touch. He said, bunkers rather. And he said to his aides again, if I can take all 90 million of my people to this bunker, then I'll go. I'll be the last one to go. The point here is that he is ready to become a martyr. And by killing him, they didn't understand that they were killing one of the most important men in the Shiite community. That would be like killing a pope of the Catholic Church. All right, and there would be an outcry, and that he would become a martyr. Along with this, they don't understand the governance of Iran. For every position they have 4 or 5 layers. All right, someone ready to go right in. That's how they're designed. Remember, they've been preparing for America for over 20 years. So America is utilizing old school thought, and it's not happening. It's not working. So the country right now is very, very confused. They don't know which way to go. Then we talk about African Americans with this. Now, keep in mind that African Americans within the military, we're nothing there. We're nothing but targets for other people, for the Americans. What I mean by that is that 41% of the military are made up of minorities. And over 36% of those minorities are Black people. You see, on the front lines. And it's not an accident that you have consistently year in and year after 14, 15, 16% Black male unemployment. And the only place they go to try to get some relief if they're not a baseball or football player or a singer is go to the military. You see, all of this is connected. So therefore, like Brother Malik stated, and I agree with him, if you have brothers and sisters there, you tell them to get out. I know it's going to be rough here, but it's better to be rough on the outside and alive than to be utilized by a government as cannon fire and a government that cares nothing about you.
Well, I wasn't speaking of the military, but I am talking about the African American community, the people that represent the rest of us. Go ahead, Malik.
Let's get on the other side. Approaching our last 30 minutes. You're listening to the Muslim Street. You can find us at www.muslimstreet.com. Our periodicals, our hard-hitting articles that are out there. Also across all social media, the Muslim Street, with the exception, and I'll say it every week, with the exception of X, formerly known as Twitter, which we have been banned from just retweeting you say
that with honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I say that with honor. These BS platforms. But as we're talking about this question of Black Americans, I want to stay on this point. Reverend Jesse Jackson's funeral, over 3 hours. I watched most of it. And you had presence of the Black political class. You had the Zionists, several of them getting their chance to speak. No Muslims speaking at all. But the question of this Black political class and the Congressional Black Caucus, who Jesse Jackson Jr. Had stand up at the end, and it was definitely representative of the presenters at Reverend Jackson's funeral. They just took a big hit with Jasmine Crockett in Texas running for the Senate. We know that her congressional seat was redistricted by the redrawn by the Republicans, so there was no seat there for her to run for re-election. So she runs for the Senate, and she loses by 6 or so points. But she's in the pocket of Israel. The statements that she were making, the dark money that she took, from the Zionist lobby, and then we have the CBC showing up for 3.5 or 4 hours, however long that funeral took, for the send-off of Reverend Jesse Jackson. And not one time did they mention the genocide in Gaza. Now, I mean, what are we doing, Dr. White? You headed to Congress. What's your message?
Well, first of all, every caucus within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are controlled by AIPAC and their allies, every one of them. Jesse Jackson, a man that you knew, the man that I know, I'm talking about Jesse Jackson Jr. He's a disgrace. All right? He's running for Congress, and he is taking a tremendous amount of money from Jews. And the AIPAC, the same people who was calling for his father's death in 1980, I think 84 and 1988. How do you want Jesse? How do you want him dead? That's what they were chanting. You see, and you align yourself with that type of foolishness, your father is rolling over in his grave as we speak, and he's seeing this.
If he took
It's
money,
a shame.
and
And the only way that when we get there, we have to expose it. I know I would be under threat. I'm under threat right now. I mean, the establishment has listed me as the most dangerous political candidate in the state of Florida because I'm consistent. I'm being hit at every level, economically, politically, socially.
Well, this goes back
All
to
right?
the decapitation that we were talking about of African American communities, just like they call themselves decapitating all of the leadership in Iran. They decapitated our communities a long time ago, and they continue to prune and decapitate as they go. So that's why you end up with a class of people at Jesse Jackson's funeral that resembles something out of a some kind of a comic book or something.
the black petty bourgeoisie, stand up.
Yeah,
Caricature of black leadership. But
and they're not organic. They're not organic.
Hey, Art, going back to the funeral, Kamala Harris, Madam Vice President, she stands up and she starts cackling and laughing. I'm watching it live, and then she says, "I told y'all this was going to happen." What you mean? You took more money from the Zionist lobby than Trump did. You was gonna do the same thing. Y'all on the same team. Who you think you fooling?
Well, yeah, but again, this is the joke that's being played on us, and they think we are completely ignorant. They don't know that we read like Steve Coakley, and we read the information that's going on that we're exposed to via the internet every day. We understand that this is not the way we are supposed to conduct ourselves as people in this country, African Americans in this country, Black people, Pan-Africanists around the world. We have a different agenda, we have a different mandate, and we need to understand and get back to focus on what's important to people. We don't get these things popularized in the media. We don't get these ideas and thoughts popularized in the media, so we assume or think that these people don't exist, so these leadership ideals don't exist. But you can find them right here on the Muslim street, I bet you.
Yeah, absolutely. So go back to Jesse Jackson Jr. I don't know. He's reclaiming the seat that he had before. He was, in my estimation, unjustly arrested and imprisoned for campaign financing. I mean, you can arrest everybody in Congress for what he did. I mean, that's nothing. Anyway, he's attempting to reclaim his seat. He's at the top of the polls. The Israeli lobby sent hundreds of thousands of dollars into the sister who had some state rep position, I don't know, and sent thousands of dollars into her campaign. And she began to grow, right, and threaten him leading the polls. And I don't know how true it is, whether he took Zionist money out of desperation or panic. I don't know. I don't know. I maintain that I didn't think that even if that was the case, that he didn't need to do that in order to win that seat. I think he's going to win that seat. So he literally did not even need to do that, right? If he did that, and I don't know that he did that, right? So I know him to be principled. He stood there and he took it. When the FBI came at him with these trumped up charges that sent him to jail, split up his family, his immediate family, his wife and kids, sent his wife to jail. In that same deal, embarrassed his father's name. This was targeted. at him. Again, I don't know if he took that money, Dr. White, from the
He
Zionist
did
lobby
take the
or
money.
the dark side, or whether the question that we should be having is whether he didn't even need to do that. If he did do that.
He is not a principled man, Brother Malik. I mean, when you take money like that from an organization and donors who wanted your father dead, who wanted to destroy your family, who tried to defame your father in reference to social and personal issues, and tried to argue that he extorted movements, and claimed that he was anti-Semitic because he met with Minister Farrakhan, and for you not to have Minister Farrakhan at your funeral, and not to have one of his people to speak at the funeral, in my book, you are dishonorable. Because literally, it was the Nation of Islam that was protecting your family, protecting your black backside, all right, when everybody else wanted you dead. So to me, he is just like Crockett, who who's running into some financial issues herself as being a thief, just like the Congress lady McCormick in South Florida, who is causing issues by again extorting money. All right, a bunch of these people there, they are not organic leaders. They're made leaders. They have character flaws. They haven't seen a dollar that they didn't like. All right. And so therefore they do not represent the community at large. And that whole sham of a funeral was nothing but a sideshow, a theater event that says, listen, Mr. Progressive, meet Miss Progressive. I'm with you. Isn't it cool? I saw pictures of it. I saw parts of it. I turned it off. It made me, as you would say, Mr. Malik, vomit.
Well, we've got a real problem with democracy and the whole system of democracy internationally. People are rejecting it and are resorting to and feeling that there should be alternative systems of government. So that's where we're headed. Citizens United needs to be repealed and thrown into the trash heap of history, because it was essentially the point at which people went crazy in this country and started all of these ridiculous, huge sums of money being poured in and letting money essentially be speech. And I blame the media a lot for that, because most of the money that's being raised by these campaigns, what is it going to? It's going to buy ads. It's going into media. So the media is never going to get upset about the fact that Citizens United exists. They want it to continue because it's their own gravy train, you know.
Yeah, so on the screen to the audience is a picture of the great Steve Coakley, who passed away in the spring of 2012, a master researcher. If you can, go to sleep at night with his YouTube videos instead of watching TV. And
is amazing.
You're going to be better for it. Steve Coakley, Dr. White, as you may well know, was put in charge of Savior's Day plenary sessions going all the way back to 1981. Throughout the 1980s, then he began to branch off into some independent circuits, but a master researcher on this whole deep state issue, connecting the dots. You're going to be smarter for it. You're going to be the smartest one in the room after you use him as one of your masters. Dr. White, can you talk about any kind of anecdotal encounter that you might have had?
I knew Steve. I had him come to the University of Cincinnati when I was teaching there. The man was completely brilliant. But I must say that Steve Coakley was what I would call, he was economically assassinated. He was assassinated by because his character. What I mean by that, when he lost, when they took his position from him. That's what they did. They took his position from him within the city. He had
City of
he had
Chicago.
no in Chicago. He had no
Mhm.
way of making a viable income. All right. So therefore, he had to go place to place and to give lectures. And giving lectures at that level, no matter how bright he was not paid the money that he should have. Nowhere. So what
Yeah.
they do to you with a brain like that, and they were afraid of his ability to influence. And remember, a number of the so-called political black establishment, they isolated him. They didn't want to be
Yes.
seen with him at all. They refer to him as a misfit, as a troublemaker
Yeah. And
because of
just
his views.
Yeah, and just for the audience, a little history on Steve and what Dr. White referred to him as being economically assassinated, jobs taken away from him. Steve emerges after the Harold Washington death in 1987. Eugene Sawyer takes over. A black man, alderman from the South Side of Chicago, takes over as mayor of the city of Chicago. He then hires Steve Coakley as a research assistant downtown Chicago. Once the Zionist Jews had heard about this, they began to take Steve's research of exposing them as part of the deep state, and then they started floating into the media that they already own. Subsequently, it put pressure on the mayor's office. He has to let Steve go. Even though Steve was one of his projects, personal hires, but the pressure from the Zionist lobby and infrastructure in Chicago, which is heavy. I mean, they literally own the Chicago Board of Trade, where 80% of all world known resources are traded. This is big stuff, right? So they call for his firing, and this is the beginning of what Dr. White talked about. This economic hit on black leadership. Let's take your income flow and then see how you do. So Steve struggled, probably for the rest of his life.
He did.
One anecdote that I want to say, as Dr. White wrote the book Blacklisted, he was blacklisted. Or what? Did you call it blacklisted or whitelisted?
Okay, a blacklisted, the price of speaking
he was
truth.
whitelisted. And one anecdote that I will share with you about Steve Coakley, a master researcher who had the respect of the entire Black liberation struggle. Toward the end of his life, and the end of his life being the last 3 or 4 years, Dr. Khalid Muhammad had no closer associate than Steve Coakley. They would check in with each other every single day, not only checking in, but also from a security perspective, where you eating at, you can't go there. I need you to do this, that, and the other. It was that close of a relationship until Dr. Khalid passed away February of 2001, Art Mobley.
Well, we need to support and build on our Black Pan-African leadership structure internationally so that we have a place to go where we can do research and we can be rewarded for what we do and continuously invigorated by our own systems. We are not going to be enumerated, and we're not going to be appreciated in the American system. I don't care how much we're running or how much we're participating in their democratic process. They are going to fight you. They are going to fight you, Dr. Viper. They are going to make sure that you are set outside of the system. They're not going to flood money into your campaign. That's why we have to flood money into your campaign. And some of that, will start right here on the Muslim street with what we're doing in the next week or two. So, we're going to put together some funds that we are going to put into your campaign. Hopefully, it triggers, and we'll talk about that next week and the following week, so that we can build on these things. But we have to take care of our own leadership class. We have to develop our own leadership class. We got to develop our own countries, our own businesses, our own across the boards. We need to be there. So to do that, Dr. White.
And you see Dr. White's smiling face up on the screen, asking for donations as he's reaches the pinnacle of his campaign. When is the vote coming, Dr. White?
The 18th of August, but I tell people, I tell our brothers and sisters, don't wait until the 18th of August to give us donations. We have to continue this policy. We have to continue our message. It costs money to do this, and they don't want our message out. Um, as you know, Art, and you know, Brother Malik, when you speak truth, you're getting body blows every day. Every day you wake up to some new surprise.
Yeah,
Um,
why don't you just go sell out like Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker and Tim Scott and take millions of dollars from APAC? I don't, get right to
Well,
the
I would never do that. I mean, because my integrity relies with my brothers and sisters, and I have too much fear and faith in God. So I
yeah.
would never do that. I don't
Hey,
give a damn if I
hey,
have to
Art.
starve.
Hey, Art, I can tell
But
he ain't from Chicago because he'd have figured this out by now. He'd run a Murphy on him like in the movie Cooley High, man. Hey, take the money and then come back after the election and say, nah, 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 bitch. Go ahead.
We got too
no,
much of
I'm
that.
not
We
gonna.
got too much of that going on right now.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah,
ain't doing the 999 that part, bro. Okay? They taking the money and then
yeah.
doing their
But
bidding. That's their problem.
yeah, our existence is at stake, and we cannot allow. We cannot be a sellout to no one. Everything is about our interest. And I'm going to pick up where Steve Coakley left off. Steve Coakley had a lot of information, a lot of influence, but he didn't have the power. You see, he had influence, information, and he could have had the power, but they didn't give it to him. But here, with this campaign, we will be able to have power. We will be able to change and turn the society around. You will really have a real, true revolutionary within the congressional halls. And that's something they never had. And they're fearful of that. They don't
Right.
mind having a Crockett who will just dance down the aisles and sing and act foolish. And they don't mind having a Maxwell Frost who has never written a bill that has become law. All right, who just sign off on anything. They'd rather have what's that brother's name in South Carolina who's been there forever? Um, his name just escapes me. But they'd rather have people like that who hasn't done Kleinberg,
Well, they did
who has never really done anything for the community. But when you
well, they
have
did,
someone who is rooted in the grassroots like myself, rooted in the struggle, who has had the struggles like every other brother or sister in this country and working class American, who know what it's like to suffer, who knows what it's like to rob Peter to pay Paul, who knows what it's like to how I'm gonna take care of this bill and continue. You see, when they have somebody like that in their halls, it scares them because, as the Quran says, when truth comes, falsehood vanishes.
well, brother, we always know
So
that we look at what people do and we follow their actions. That's usually the most impactful element as to what kind of decisions we make about anybody. Is we look at what they do,
yeah,
not necessarily what you say, but what you do. And you are a man of
yeah,
action, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate being able to be supportive of your work and what it is that you're doing. Wanted just quickly, if we could, just jump right back to Iran because this is a very hot. We sitting in World War III, and
absolutely.
we almost are ignoring the issue, but we are in a very dangerous position right now. And the revolution in Iran that took off in '79 was a layered, deep revolution where they knew that the U.S. was going to come after them. They knew that way back then. They knew that they were going to use Israel as an advanced state or proxy state to come after them. And that is it's almost taken 50 years, but it's at their doorstep. And they've prepared for it, as you mentioned, Dr. White. They've been preparing for it for more than 20 years, but they've definitely layered in generationally a strategy to deal with that attack. and the attack is upon them now. There's believed to be over 250,000 ballistic instruments and missiles that is in the possession of Iran right now. That is, talk about armed to the teeth. They are every week, every day, they introduce a new missile, that can do something much more serious than the last one. So, we're in a very difficult situation, but I'm in a very challenging situation, and at the doorsteps of World War III.
As we close out the show here in the last 5 minutes, I just want to kind of switch gears and give some recognition to two things. One is during this holy month of Ramadan, Muslims are encouraged to read the Quran, the entire book. And I personally embark on this mission every Ramadan over the last 45 Ramadans that I've participated in since I've been a Muslim. And probably tonight by Salat Isha, the last prayer, I would have, I'm challenging myself to do what we call the Khatam Quran, which is the completion of the Quran. I should complete it tonight, and if not, by the first prayer, Salat al-Fajr, tomorrow. I always, Dr. White, being a Muslim, really see this as an accomplishment of discipline. But I always come away with, as we approach the Khatam Quran, the completion of the Quran, is that what is the message that Allah Ta'ala is giving the believer? And as I read through this chapter after chapter, verse after verse, it is, "Oh, you who believe, fight for justice," right? Literally, don't turn back on your heels from your enemy. This is the Quran. I mean, constantly. It only says it once. I mean, it's over and over and over and over again, right? This is me going through the experience real time, right? So I just want to let us not forget, we're political on the Muslim street, but we are the Muslim street, and we are literally Muslims. I mean, I'm talking about, literally Muslims. Okay. On the screen, before we close out, guys, I just want to kind of shift gears and give some recognition to a sister by the name of Rosa Clemente, who is a Afro-Puerto Rican who's always been on the front lines of our struggle. In 2008, she ran for vice president on the Green Party ticket. Former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney out of Georgia ran for president. This was against Barack Obama. It's the only time yours truly has ever voted in an American election, when I voted for Cynthia McKinney for president in 2008, and Sister Rosa Clemente, two Black women who ran for president and vice president. She's launched an initiative as she goes through her PhD studies, Dr. White, and on this question of this term Latin dad, she writes, "The unbearable whiteness of Latin dad." Here's what plenty of us already understand, even if we often keep it to ourselves. The term Latin dad is anti-Black. It has been from the start, and those of us who are Black Latinx need to stop treating it like it can hold us. History is not subtle about this. Some scholars still argue that Latin dad can be reclaimed, like that N word, and turned into a decolonial project. I refuse to take part in that. And she goes on to say, you cannot reclaim that which was never built with you in mind. And she cites Audre Lorde, who said it plainly, the master tools will never dismantle the master's house. I know it, and then she goes on to say, "I know exactly who I am, a Black Puerto Rican woman whose ancestors arrived in the Western Hemisphere in chains. That is not subcategory inside someone else's framework. Our Blackness is complete, and it does not need to negotiate for space inside the concept constructed to make us disappear." You've been listening to the Muslim Street, and for Dr. Viper White, Congress candidate in the city of Orlando, Also for Art Mobley, founding member of the National Association of Black Journalists, and also the Darfur 23. And also a shout out to Lance Scurr, producing the Muslim Street from Accra, Ghana. You can find him at lancescurve.com, and also search for him on YouTube. We'll see you next week. It'll still be Ramadan. I'll be in Africa with Lance. And we have another Power Pack show disseminating information about the Black liberation struggle, the Muslim Street. You can find us again at www.themuslimstreet.com. Assalamu alaikum.